All right, we move on to the world of college football, where week two didn't have quite as many bona fide top 25 matchups as week one did, but it did have a couple. You had the Pac-12 get a big feather in their cap with Oregon going on the road and taking out Ohio State. That was Ryan Day's first regular season loss in Ohio State, and the Iowa State battle, which was probably the biggest game in that rivalry's history, I'd imagine. Both teams in the top 10. It was the Kirk Ferentz's show beating the Matt Campbells 27-17. Also had some notable top 25 losses with Southern Cal and Texas and Utah all going down. Drink, what were your big takeaways from the weekend in college football?
All right, let's start with Texas. Oh, yeah. Welcome to the SEC, baby. And it only get rougher from Arkansas.
Right. So right about that.
Listen, so you had number 15, Texas going against, traveling down to Fayetteville, Arkansas to, go against the Razorbacks. And let's just say, these road games now are really road games. This ain't no going to a half-empty stadium and your brand overpowers, the home crowd. Nope. That Arkansas had that thing rocking from A to Z, and Texas figured that out really fast. But my thing with Texas wasn't even the hostile crowd, which it does matter. I'm giving them that credit. It does matter to be in hostile territory. But Texas just looked at they talent didn't even look like it was up to snuff with Arkansas, to be honest with you. I mean, I give you B. John Robinson. That dude's an animal. I'm going to give you him. But I wasn't impressed with that quarterback play. That quarterback play wasn't overly impressive. KJ Jefferson, he ain't. Let me tell you something right now. It's about 8 teams in the SEC he ain't starting for. I'm telling you that right now. Even Georgia, and they don't even know who going to start for them week to week. And he still probably won't start with Georgia. So I'm telling you right now, if that quarterback play was a problem for you, oh man, wait till you play these teams that can actually recruit. Oh man, wait till you play some of these, the Alabamas of the world, the Georgias of the world, even LSU of the world. Whenever they get their stuff together, Texas A&M. And I'm not saying those teams are world beaters now, but who knows what they look like when Texas joined the conference. So either way, listen, Texas. Horrible introduction. What they say, first impression is a lasting impression. This ain't it, Texas. This is going to be a lasting impression here for the SEC. So when you come in, we're going to be laughing. Ha, 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 ha. Moving on to the next one. USC. What are we doing here? Listen, me and Jay and I both have came up here and been like, hey, Pac-12. Oregon, evidently that's the flagship program. Then you got USC, the flagship brand. And then, we'll sprinkle in a little of that UCLA this year. They seem to be a little more serious or whatnot. And then you go out here and get beat. And the funny thing, didn't you say this? Didn't you give a shout out to Stanford saying that they ain't been the same since, David Shaw took over the reins for.
Yeah, I think I was in particular talking about, where has David Shaw been recently? Like he was like doing some stuff after Harbaugh left and haven't heard from him. And he answered the doorbell. He did.
Yeah, he was like, hey, give us an unranked team we can play. And that's what USC was. And yeah, and I'm going to tell you, for the people that's like, oh, it wasn't that bad of a loss. Ask Clay Helton if it was that bad of a loss. Ask him. Because clearly it was. Clearly that's a loss that gone ahead and get you the young pink slip. And that's what he got. And when you lose 42-28 to step to the, listen, I don't even know where Stanford ranks in the Pac-12. I don't know if they like the 4th best team, 5th best team, whatever the case might be. But clearly this loss was unexcusable. And if I'm lying, ask Clay Helton. That's all I'm saying. Then let's get over to that top 10 matchup. Oh, yeah. It wasn't quite the score I thought it was going to be, but it was the result I thought it was going to be. Listen, like I said, I think right now, Iowa the best team in the Big Ten. If you don't like it, you get at me. Right now, Iowa is the best team in the Big Ten. I would take them over Penn State. I would take them over Ohio State. I would take them over Michigan. Whoever else you got outside of that, I ain't trying to hear it. Because they probably not even on the radar to be talking about as the best team. I think Iowa is the best team. Kirk Ferentz finally got something cooking in the pass game, folks. Listen, he's been making his bones on tight ends and linebackers. They always keep a pretty stout defense. They always knock off at least one ranked team, which I guess you can count as knocking off a ranked team because Iowa State was ranked. It was a top 10 matchup, and Iowa State was the higher ranker team out of the two. So, they always manage to do this, right? Boom. This time, though, they had a little more of an expectation, kind of tagged to them being that this was a top 10 game. And Iowa showed up. I said it on the last show. I'm saying it on this show. This is a different Iowa team. Kirk Ferentz went on the phone, an actual quarterback, and some actual receivers, and put it together with his first round offensive line and his first round defensive players. Iowa is serious, folks. I think this might be the year that, Iowa could be the Big Ten champs. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, I'm high on Iowa right now, as you can see. And then on to the main event, the game that pretty much shook up the playoff rankings. Because I wasn't a big soul on Iowa State, so I don't really look at that as a shakeup because I think Oklahoma going to be a representative for the Big 12 anyway. So I don't really look at that as a shakeup, but I definitely look at Oregon and Ohio State as a shakeup. You had the number one team in the Pac-12 going against the number one team in the Big Ten, and let's just say the Pac-12. Cheers to you. Shouts out to you for doing what you had to do with a depleted Oregon team, I might add. Here's the deal, folks. Oregon didn't even have their top two defensive players playing in this game. They got a quarterback that's kind of confusing to me because I don't quite know if he's really a quarterback or not, but he can do enough to get the job done. The fact that Ohio State got ran over as bad as they did by this that offense is not even full strength. I mean, they was kind of piecing stuff together. I didn't even see, I'm going to be real with you. I didn't see Oregon do anything complex on the offense side of the ball that one time in that game. It was nothing complex about what they was doing. You had a little, maybe a sprinkle of RPO. Anthony Brown, I mean, my God, I don't even think the guy did a second, third, or fourth progression read the whole game. He just was like, listen, I'm gonna out-athletic this whole defense. That's what he did. Dyer, the running back, I think I'm bigger than him. He just was bulldozing, getting his little pop passes from out in the flat. It almost, I know the score was 35-28, but the only reason that score is that close is because Ohio State has a very elite wide receiver core. Very elite. And to C.J. Stroud's credit, he just played better in the second half. I don't know. First half, he just don't do well in the first half. I don't know what to tell you. But, he comes out halftime. He plays better, and the game was closer. But Oregon dominated this game from A to Z. Well, I hope we know that. You go back and look at this game. Oregon dominated this game. They controlled the pace of the game. They had the lead for most of the time. And for Ohio State to have all this talent on their team, if this was Alabama and they got done like this, everybody, Nick Saban done, Alabama done. They got all this talent and they go out here with that bull crap. Oh, they're done. I don't want to hear nothing else about the dynasty. But Ohio State do it, it's like, well, I mean, C.J. Stroud, he redshirt freshman. Oh, okay. So we going, okay. Oh, well, Chris Olave, I don't know, I think he tweaked something, and Garrett Wilson didn't get enough passes. And, I know they got a bunch of 5 stars on that defensive line, but we need to do a scholarship check on the linebackers, don't we? Because they look at a little under, they look at a little group of 5-ish out there, So, oh yeah, we're going to give it to them. We're going to give it to them today because that wasn't it. That was not it. For a team that recruits at the level that they recruit, That was not it. And I listen, and this is what I always say, and I done said this before. Ryan Day be looking a little funny under the light. He be looking like a little counterfeit under the light. Because think about he done beat up on Clemson. He went 1-1 with Clemson. I give you that. What else can you give me? What else can you give me? He went 1-1 with Clemson. He win the Big Ten. Oh, that's a task. Oklahoma win the Big 12 every year. Oh, yeah. So, give me the game that Ryan Day just blew your socks away without naming Clemson. He didn't beat Alabama when he had a chance. I mean, God, he could have showed me some. He didn't really show me a whole lot against Minnesota in week 1. Definitely didn't show me nothing against Oregon over here. I'm just saying, call it what you want. But since Ryan Day has taken over, if you actually look at him on big time games, prime time games, everybody's blaming the defensive coordinator, but who hires the defensive coordinator? The head coach. So you blame him, but it's starting to look to me is if you can make Ryan Day coach, or if your team has just as much talent as his team, you in trouble. Ohio State is in trouble if one of those two things are true. I'm just telling you that now. Because when if you line up across the field from Nick and your team is just as talented as Alabama, you still going to get a hell of a game from Alabama. You might win. I'm not saying Alabama don't lose, because they do. But you won't be like, oh, man, you know what? Nick crumbled under the lights. You know what I'm saying? That's not what comes out. It's just, Alabama sucked. They sucked today. Like, when we played Clemson and lost 44-16, Alabama, boy, I don't know what that was. I don't know what Alabama team that was. They sucked. So, I just want to make it known before I get up out of here. Listen, Ohio State, they looking a little counterfeit in the light, and I think Ryan Day, some people got to pull a Ryan Day coat on this one. He ain't looking real good on the primetime stage.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I'm not here to hate on Ryan Day, but I mean, look,
I'm hating.
No, not you. I'm saying I'm just trying to set the stage for what I'm about to say. I'm not trying to hate on Ryan Day. I mean, the guy, this is his first regular season loss, and this is his 3rd year, I believe. So, I mean, there's something to be said for that many games, but it also has kind of a feel like Ryan Day coming here. You got all the Urban's players. Now we're seeing, the back half of Urban Meyer's guys. It's about probably maybe an even split. This is turning more and more into actually Ryan Day's program. These guys, I mean, CJ Stroud, that's a Ryan Day player. You know what I'm saying? Things like that are happening. And now it just makes you wonder, like, this defense. I mean, you just look at this defense. You even against Minnesota, Joel Klatt was on the call, and I go back to what he said, like, this secondary, I don't know about them. Now, their front seven might be all right, but now it's looking like we on scholarship check over here for the linebackers. What are we going to be talking about? Is it going to be the defensive line next week who can't do nothing? Listen, I mean, it's pretty simple when you pull up the box. Oregon ran the ball and ran over them, and that's how they won the game. Almost reminds me of how Oregon beat Utah a couple years ago in the Pac-12 title game. Just out-physicaled them. Oregon, it's a pretty wild transformation, I'll say. You went from Chip Kelly and the 8 seconds or less offense and just spread you out and do all kind of weird things with Mariota, LaMichael James, and all these other guys. Now they just run at you. And that goes back to what you said with the lack of complexity. They just line up and run you over. So I think credit to Cristobal out there doing a heck of a job. This dude, Anthony Brown, I knew his name from somewhere. This was the Boston College quarterback when A.J. Dillon was out there carrying the rock. So they just get a dude from somewhere, hey, come on over here and manage the game for us, and we're just going to play physical, kind of like you did in Boston College, but just this is Oregon. So we do it a little bit bigger, and you're going to have a new uniform every week because we sponsored like that. So, but look, this is – I'm nervous for Ohio State because the Big Ten is the next best thing after the SEC. But we always looking for who can challenge Ohio State, and they never seem to be serious. Whether it's Wisconsin, whether it's Penn State, it ain't Michigan. It's not Michigan. We know that much.
it ain't been biscuits since Jim Harbaugh been there.
But now you got Iowa. Iowa looking pretty good. I mean, that was an impressive performance. Just roll into Iowa State. That's the most hyped they done been, and I don't know the last time that place been that hyped. They was pretty hyped in there for that one. But Iowa just rolls in there and handles business like it ain't nothing. So maybe Iowa's a team to look out for. We saw Penn State took down Wisconsin. Maybe they're going to do something. Michigan, for what it's worth, they snuck back in the top 25, beating Washington. They ran the football well. But it makes you wonder. And I've said this, like, even after the Minnesota game, I said this ain't a playoff team. And now you look at it, and we know how the playoffs work. You can lose one, but now it's hard to get in if you lose two. You know, that's something I don't know.
Up to this point, we have yet to have a 2-loss team in the playoffs.
So, and now if you're Oregon, it seems like now you look at Oregon and say, okay, I know normally we're a little skeptical about a 1-loss Pac-12 team, but maybe now Oregon got a little leash. You know, if you beat Ohio State on the road, that's obviously something to, you know, that's gonna be a feather in your cap for the whole year. And then you look around, and when the selection comes, Oregon's gonna have the edge. If these two teams have the same record, ain't no way Ohio State gets in over Oregon. That's a huge deal. Same thing with Georgia beating Clemson last week. Clemson don't have no margin for error. Georgia obviously does because they play in the best conference, so they can afford to drop one. So that's Ohio State to me. They got to win out. They got to win out to get back to the playoff. And this whole thing, like, you know, obviously don't want to be too hard on the young kid, CJ Stroud, but, I mean, you got to start playing full football games, don't you? I mean, even at the end, like, I mean, 484, 3 touchdowns, it looks real nice, but we know some of that is because you're behind 2 scores and you're just throwing it to throw it. Got to play first halves. I didn't watch this first half of this game all that closely, but I guarantee the first half against Minnesota was pretty dreadful. There was some clangs all over the field, just some absolute yard sales going on out there. So this was obviously not a good look for Ohio State. I'm concerned about them moving forward. We got to see what happens when they get in conference play. You know, I'll tell you one thing. They look vulnerable against Minnesota, and it didn't like Minnesota was all that great, particularly on defense. So we got to watch out for that. I got to say one quick note on Texas and Arkansas. I see Arkansas getting some respect. They up to the 20 in the old AP poll. It's good to see. I don't know how real that is because Texas out here looking fraudulent. And just to your point, just to bounce back off of it, guys, y'all want to come to the SEC? Y'all just got y'all's butts beat by the SEC West doormat for the last couple of years. What is this? Like, y'all really want to come over here and play? What do y'all have besides the network? The Longhorn net. What else you got? This ain't impressive, man. And like Steve Sarkisian, like, as much as like Gus Malzahn should be like jumping for joy with the expansion of the Big 12 and he coming back in the Power 5, I'd be nervous if I'm Steve Sarkisian. This looked like a preview for things to come. I got to tell you.